Oh, yeah. What is going on, Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael? Lee Sanders here. You are checking out an all new The RCWR Show coming at you for this May 21st, 2017, on a beautiful Sunday night. Lovely weekend. Nice, good weather. Hope it's been good for you all. I know we got a little bit of NBA action that had concluded, I think, about a few minutes ago. My guys on TNT, I think they're doing their thing right about now. I know we got some NBA action that I believe is also going to be continuing tomorrow, but we're not talking about NBA tonight. Tonight, we are talking about WWE Backlash 2017 Fallout. I know there's a particular order that a lot of you guys like our show, but we got to talk about, just to kick off this show, we got to talk about how things pretty much had ended, man. I mean, my guys at Chicago, at the Allstate Arena, Chicago, my old stomping grounds. One of these days, I'm going to make it be my business to go back there, have me some nice, good quality time catching up with some family members, some close friends. Man, I miss it out there, man. Love my old stomping grounds out there. But look, we got to talk about that. I don't think it was really surprising for me because I have been so vocal about it on this show off and on for the past several weeks. But come on now, seriously, how many of you all sincerely had thought that Jinder Mahal was not going to be walking out of the All-State Arena tonight as the new WWE champion? If a lot of you guys actually thought Jinder was not going to get it done, hey, you know what I say to you? Not nah. I'm not going to come at you guys like that. But what I will say to you all is you all have become kind of comfortable, kind of safe. Like one of my biggest gripes, and yes, we need to welcome in our audience. We got people coming in via YouTube and all that good jazz. But look, let's be honest for a second, right? We have seen Randy Orton respectfully as the WWE champion multiple times now. That like it doesn't even make any sense. Okay, so when it's all said and done, like it's time to shake things up. And I have been very passionate. I've been very vocal about this on the show repeatedly over the months. When it comes to the talk of Randy Orton, if he is really good at anything, Randy Orton is superb at chasing after whoever is holding on to that WWE title. That's what he is awesome at. But sadly, once Randy Orton has chased down whoever is holding on to that championship, once he finally gets to the dance and he takes the title off of them, I just, for the love of me, maybe you, the listeners, can better articulate it for other listeners out there. But for some odd reason, once Randy Orton has become the champion, within like less than a month, he gets boring really, really quick. Now, I'm not really sure if that's a situation of Randy kind of being complacent and not really given his tenure with the company and the veteranship status that he has in the company. If maybe it's a case of him not really pushing the envelope as far as creativity goes, as far as what direction he can go as a champion, making his storylines more riveting, more interesting. I'm not sure if it's a case where he's not being as vocal, or if maybe he just, once he gets to the dance, he's just pretty much taking his cues by the company. But you see these little elements from Randy Orton that comes out just organically. Point being, you take the tweet that he had put out there when he was going back and forth with Bully Ray. That was like some hilarious stuff. Had a lot of people talking about him. You go to this main event match at Backlash tonight when he was taking on Jinder Mahal. And how about that sick, insane spot that we saw towards the end of the match where Randy Orton was beating the crap out of the Singh brothers? Remember that one spot where he basically had flipped like one of them in midair? The guy did like a 360 splashing through the announcer's table or whatever because of the way Randy Orton kind of like catapulted him into going to the table. And you had Randy Orton just on cue walk away from that, and he was cheesing like that was a sick spot. I mean, you could tell he genuinely loved that. I like seeing those little elements, him just kind of talking almost out of character. Like, it's really been growing on me the past couple of years, seeing him really loosen up, kind of get out of that shell, wanting to show a little bit more of that personality. And if anything, my biggest critique, my biggest gripe right now with Randy Orton, again, no problem with him chasing after whoever is the champion. It's just once he gets to the dance, and longtime listeners know this, I've been saying this for some years now. It's just always, and maybe you guys can better articulate it than I can, but I just notice it, and it's so nerve-wracking. I looked at this opportunity, and what did I say to you guys? I said to you guys, weeks, couple of months now, I said, look, this is a true test for Jinder Mahal. Now, I know a lot of people, I want the record to stand, because I know we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be like, oh, now everybody's riding the Jinder Mahal train. And let me go officially on record to anybody that is a newer listener that maybe is checking me out for the very first time. Look, at least, and I think longtime listeners can back me up on this, for at least, if not 3 months, for sure 2 months, I have been saying Jinder Mahal, you just look at the guy physically, he has been putting in the time, he's been putting in the effort. This guy looks like he wants to legitimately be taken seriously as not just a contender, but as a professional wrestler. This is a guy that, honestly, how many of you cannot relate to this, by the way? It's like you want to move up with your employer. You want to get the big bucks. You want to get that money so that you and your family can financially be more secure, be more stable. And you're going to your boss, you're going to your peers, you're asking for advice and everything. And it just gets right down to the point. You go to the person that's basically signing your paychecks, saying to them, what do I have to do to really move up in the company? Because I feel I have what it takes. I just need that opportunity. What do I need to do? Can you tell me, how do I need to rededicate myself to be in the position like so many others? And depending on the type of boss you have, they may just be quite frank with you. They may be very candid with you. But here is a guy that I look at that honestly tried to do his very best to change his psychology as far as how he cuts promos. I must admit, he stepped it up. He has changed his philosophy in his in-ring ability. It's still a bit rough around the edges. I must admit, Randy Orton did kind of guide him throughout most of this match tonight, but he is still coming along. I will definitely give him that. But just physically, the guy has rededicated himself. And when you just combine all of those things, everybody can say what they will. They can say the controversy about maybe he's taking juice or whatever like that. I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt. I'm not going to beat that horse to death, because I've already gone into great detail about that on previous shows, why I'm for him. You could probably find some clips up on YouTube. But for me, when I just look at everything that this man has been doing for the past several months, and I mean, it's not like all of a sudden within a 2-month time frame, all of a sudden he's like this big, muscular looking, veiny looking dude. No, this guy has been putting in the time and the effort for at least about 8 months, if you really want to kind of go back. And this was a really good position that he was in. A lot of people kind of felt that, well, since Rusev is getting ready to come back, that maybe it made a little bit more sense. I just wasn't buying that. I honestly felt that the time and the place was right now for a Jinder Mahal to become a WWE champion. I have retired the you know what? I've retired that for like about maybe a month now, because I just really was liking the direction that this guy was going. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get behind this guy. This guy's going to get my support. I like where he's going. And I'm proud. I'm happy for this guy, because honestly, he's put in the time. He's put in the dedication. Now that you've gotten yourself to the dance, Jinder Mahal, the chase, they say, is better than the catch. But now that you are the champion, now comes the more interesting challenge, which is continuing to stay relevant, which is continuing to push the envelope, to pull that quote from Hennessy, never stop, never settle. That's what's going to need to happen for you going forward right now. But let's talk about that main event match that we had. I actually had like how the match had began with Randy Orton pretty much attacking Jinder Mahal, also trying to get his hands early on the Singh Brothers. I thought that was actually a really good touch that they did, because honestly, if you really stop and think about it, Randy Orton gonna just patiently wait for maybe the bell to ring and it's pretty much a 3-on-1 beatdown? No, you go on ahead and you bring the action to them. So I actually had enjoyed the placement of that. It had seemed as though that match wasn't going to be starting for several minutes because the bell officially did not ring. They pretty much were brawling back and forth. Randy Orton pretty much getting most of the upper hand during that matchup. Then finally, I would say after about maybe 10 minutes, we saw the action finally go back into the ring. Bell officially had rung as the match had began. But later on in the match, we did see Jinder Mahal focus on Randy Orton's right arm, doing just a series of attacks too. At one of those spots that came about, we saw the action go out in the middle of the ring, where Randy Orton, and I love the placement of the Singh brothers, man. I love that at one point we had saw Jinder take a RKO from like out of nowhere. Randy Orton lingering with that left arm, hurting, really thinking, okay, well, I got this. It's all good. Trying to go in for that cover. But we see the Singh brothers, they immediately sacrifice themselves in grabbing Jinder, rolling him out of the ring. I love that. That's what they're there for. Like, why would you have those two guys just stand there and just look at their guy getting pinned? Like, that makes no sense. So I love that placement that they did right there. But yeah, we had saw Jinder Mahal. He focused a couple of times on Randy Orton's left arm, one of the spots that came about while Randy was somewhat distracted by the Singh brothers. We saw Mahal come from behind, pretty much push Randy Orton into the steel post outside of the ring. Actually rammed him into it like at least 2 more times, maybe even 3. Really going to work on that bad boy. Love that placement. Let's pick it up towards the final moments of the matchup. My phone is like blowing up over here. I don't know if it's like a series of retweets or what, but for those of you that maybe sending some comments my way and all that, I'll definitely get to what you all have to say about the pay-per-view event just a little bit later on in the show. I'm gonna try to make this be as short as humanly possible though, because I do want to try to check out the evening news and all that before I put a book into the night. But let's talk about some of the final closing moments of the matchup. So we saw Orton. He had proceeded to unload on Mahal. Also had connected with a pretty sweet power slam. Orton doing a good job selling that arm injury from moments before that I had set up for you all. As he, what happened? Orton sold the arm injury, ran his elbow into the corner. Then we had saw Orton scoop up Jinder and connected with a modified fall away slam. That only had got him a 2 count. Jinder then connected with a neck breaker on Orton. That had got a 2 count. Orton managed to catch Jinder in a backbreaker. Jinder rose to the apron this go round. Orton gets up, grabs Jinder for the second rope dragon DDT. And Orton connected. Looked as though he was getting ready to go for RKO. Jinder immediately rolled to the floor, going over to the Singh brothers. Orton follows, tries to come up from behind them. Singh brothers are yelling at Orton. Orton wasn't really feeling those guys, so he just beat the holy living tar out of them. None of those guys, they never did get a hit in on Randy Orton, because as you would imagine, if that would have happened, then Orton would have won via DQ. But no, that actually never had happened. I told you how he had tossed one of them into the barrier, really sweet spot. Jinder would end up taking advantage of Orton, attacked him. Jinder then rolled Orton into the ring and followed up, but Orton managed to connect with RKO out of nowhere. Singh brothers pulled Jinder out. Fans were booing the hell out of that. Jinder was getting that great heat reaction. It was moderate. I won't say it was crickets. I will not say it was crickets. I had my TV blasting pretty loud, but any reaction, I always say, because I'm just old school like that. I've got that old school mentality. Any reaction is better than no reaction. You have to go out there and you've got to get something. It's all about engaging the audience. To not just move that meter just a smidget is detrimental, man. You're just not going to last that long. I have always said that time and time and time again. And I'm sure that my old good friend, broadcast partner, the evil genius of professional wrestling, Titus Machiavelli. If I were talking to him right now, he'd probably tell you that same thing, literally, as well as other veteran wrestlers, that it's very important. I think most recently, Bully Ray even said that you got to go out there, you got to get some type of reaction from the crowd. So we saw Orton. He tosses one of the brothers over to the announcer's table, slams the other on top of the Spanish announce table. The other brother is driven into another announce table as well. As I mentioned, fans, they really ate that up. Nice, good pop. Pretty much Singh Brothers are out of it. They got destroyed. But we saw Orton. He tried to bring another brother into the ring. Actually, he brought both of them into the ring and connected with vintage Randy Orton, a double dragging DDT. Jinder comes from behind, connects with that new finisher. I'm still trying to pronounce the name promptly. I've only heard it like about 3 times now. So if I'm messing it up, just give me a couple of more weeks. I will have it down. But I believe it is called the Calais. And that's basically, it means in English, the end, if I'm not mistaken. And that's it. That's how Jinder had became your new WWE champion. Post-match was really hilarious. I enjoyed watching the fans that had shocked look on their faces. I mean, they looked as if they found out Santa Claus is actually gay. I mean, it was hilarious. Shout out to Mark via YouTube chat, who honestly is just joining us. That's a beautiful part. For those of you that's going to be checking this out via YouTube, and it's live right now for the next little bit, you're not watching it on demand, you can actually rewind it back. Basically, the way we start off the show, you know, it's redundant to start the show in a nutshell by going over every single match. I think when you're given something really explosive and really popular of a finish, you start with that, then you backtrack, you talk about the other matches. But to answer your question in a nutshell, yeah, we are going to be talking about the other matches. That's how we do it here on this show. I mean, I wish I could just come on here, new WWE champion. All right, guys, see you Tuesday. Good night. No, we definitely have a lot more showtime to go. So let me hurry up and blaze through the rest of this. But yeah, I love seeing the fans that were just really shocked. Just like, I loved it. It was priceless. There were only a few vocal guys that I follow on social media, including myself, Elias Emba, shout out to him, Shocking Undertaker guy, and a few other people that honestly were like, no, this is Jinder's time. Everything that has been building up to this point, this is his time. Let me tell you something. If WWE did not decide to roll the dice and go with Jinder Mahal, it's like, okay, this is like the most greatest opportunity there is. He's catching some type of buzz. If you don't capitalize now, then when do you pull the trigger? And see, this is a pattern that I have been noticing with the WWE for many, many years now. And I honestly don't see a lot of people talk about this. I always notice that during the summertime, pretty much when school is wrapped up, and you got families, they're pretty much planning vacations, all that good jazz. You got students going out on graduation. Normally, you've got the holidays. You know, you got Memorial Day coming up. You got the 4th of July, all that, all the great stuff that's coming about during summer. Everybody's getting out more. They're not really staying in the house and all that. The pattern I've noticed from WWE for years now, is when WWE thinks they might be on to somebody that they feel like, okay, you know what? This guy's got the looks. Maybe we should give him a test run and see how he does. Honestly, if he's kind of struggling, if he's not really doing good with the prices at the ticket gates, well, we can easily just take the title off of him and we can put it on somebody that's more safer, somebody that we know can definitely draw. And I noticed that they usually experiment during the summer. And the pattern, I tell you, that's the pattern I've been noticing for a lot of years, to the point that honestly, like, come, I would say, late August, maybe September, you know, because now you got to start getting ready, because you pretty much got Survivor Series right around the corner, right? You got Royal Rumble as well. Normally, by like September, if it really hasn't been working out as they had hoped with whoever they wanted to experiment with, see what type of reaction that wrestler gets with the crowd and everything, how they're doing with merchandise sales, ticket prices at the gate, all that, then they go on ahead and they go with what's safe. Now that I've put that information out there, I want you guys to really just kind of stop and if you marinate, you'll be like, yeah, Lee, you actually bring up a very valid point, and just notice it going forward. So I'm honestly fine with them pulling the trigger right now. They've got nothing to lose right now. If anything, they could possibly have a lot to gain with Jinder Mahal as the new WWE champion. Of course, there's going to be a rematch. Whether or not that's going to be playing about on SmackDown, we shall wait and see. Yeah, another thing that really comes into my mind now is, quite honestly, what is next for Rusev? I'm very curious how that's going to be coming about, because honestly, Rusev, he's already told Shane O'Mac, hey, look, I want a shot at the WWE Championship, and I'm going to be showing up on SmackDown, which is, if I'm not mistaken, this coming week, unless it's already happened. Did it already happen? See, I can't even remember if I had watched SmackDown this week. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I'll have to rely on you guys, because I honestly cannot remember if I watched SmackDown this week, because I've been sidetracked with some other stuff. So either Rusev showed up already or he hasn't. Whether or not he's going to get his title shot at Money in the Bank, we're going to have to wait and see how that comes about. But, like, what's going to happen with him? Because remember, I bring up Rusev as not too long ago, Rusev and Mahal, they were a tag team, and they actually had a little bit of beef going on right before their union just pretty much it imploded, right? So you can definitely revisit that, unless a scenario is going to occur where Rusev decides he wants to bury the hatchet with Jinder. I mean, can you just imagine that for a second? Can you imagine if Jinder gets backed by Rusev and he's got the Singh brothers? And Lana's going to be part of that automatically too, right? I mean, that would be pretty damn interesting if you just want to add a little bit more substance, not diversity, not from the standpoint of race relations and all that. Because honestly, what Jinder is doing right now, what the Singh brothers are doing right now, that is more than enough. And this plays into exactly what I said and how I said it was all going to play out as far as Jinder Mahal becoming a WWE champion, the storyline that they could go with. And I was really surprised at this, because there were people that did not see the story arc with Jinder Mahal a mile away. I smelled it. And I said on this very show, longtime listeners can back me up, there's clips of it on YouTube. I said, the way that WWE can go with this, if they want to, and I actually encourage WWE to go that route, they can do a page from the headlines. They can talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the news. You got everybody that's all paranoid about, the travel ban and banning Muslims. And then you got ISIS and all this other stuff that's running around. And I basically had said, if you do this right, you can rip it from the headlines and apply it perfectly well to Jinder. But if you're going to go that route, you cannot pull a Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger. And when they get so much buzz from the O'Reilly factor and everywhere, you can't have them go, hi, my real name is blah, 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 and I'm a WWE actor that portrays the character. No, you can't do that. That's just a weak freaking cop-out. You just got to go all in. And there were actually, you'd be surprised, guys, there were actually people that were, that's not going to happen, because WWE, they're too politically correct now. They're not going to go that route. And then other people were like, you're being racist by suggesting WWE. It's like, how am I being racist when what you see on TV every single week from Jinder Mahal is almost blatantly a page from the headlines of everything that's going on right now? Seriously. So I like what they're doing. I mean, they have enough material there for Jinder. Does he need a Rusev in his corner? No, he doesn't. But if you want to do a scenario where maybe Rusev is like trying to reignite a feud with him and is potentially over the title, I personally wouldn't mind seeing it, but I know how WWE likes to operate. They don't really like a heel taking on a heel for a major title. They really don't like that. So that should be interesting to see how that's going to be playing in the coming weeks. But it's a great refresher, because if you really stop and you think about it, this opens up so many new opportunities for a Jinder Mahal title reign. Just looking at the current landscape of the roster right now, whenever Jericho decides he wants to make a cameo, there's a match right there with Jinder just to try to help elevate Jinder even more. There's a potential matchup right there. Last we saw Jericho, he was a face. So that's one angle you could possibly go. Of course, Shinsuke Nakamura, that's another one. Depending on the continuation in crowd reactions, how he's doing with merchandise sales, Dillinger may actually be another one that you possibly go with. Who else on the roster? I'm just thinking about the faces that you got right now that's currently there on the roster. You could potentially go whenever New Day pops up. You could potentially go with maybe a guy like Big E. I still feel that he is a breakout star just waiting to happen. So that's definitely a route you could go. You could even go the Sami Zayn route if you wanted to go. I mean, that is like more realistic now more than ever, believe it or not. A Sami Zayn run as a WWE champion, it could come off the hands of a Jinder Mahal. So there's a lot of different matchups that you can do. AJ Styles, if honestly, I like where AJ is right now, continue to leave him as a tweener, but you can always have him into the fold as well. So there's a lot of different matchups that you can do with Jinder as a champion right now. I love it, quite honestly. Let's talk about some of the rest of the action that came about. And I definitely want to rewind it back to what went down with the pre-show for earlier tonight. Help me out, guys. I'll talk about some other stuff for the pre-show, but help me out. What was the name of the female that interviewed Sami Zayn at the social media lounge? Because she is freaking hot. I got to give her mad props. I'll come back to her in a few seconds once I know what her name is. I heard it. I didn't have a chance to write it down because I was sidetracked, jotting down some notes for some other stuff that was coming about. So let's talk about the pre-show that we had. Saw Renee Young, who looked very tired, by the way. My girl Renee looked like she needed a 5-hour energy, or she needed to drink some of that Kickstart from Mountain Dew badly. I mean, my girl just looked like she might have been up for about 72 hours straight, and somehow she was just staying alive. I mean, the makeup was applied nicely. I know a thing or two about makeup because, quite honestly, I'm an artist. You know, I do painting and drawings myself, so I know a thing or two about it. So, honestly, when I look at a face, I kind of look at a face like a blank canvas is how I look at it. So, I see her makeup. I'm like, okay, her makeup's on point. Her hair was nice, but you look at her eyes, and she just looked tired like a mother, man. But she was joined with Peter Rosenberg. Peter, shout out to Peter, did a good job as always. Booker T was there as well. Love the brief cameo that Erick Rowan had made during the pre-show. Didn't say anything, just popped up with his mask, just looking at everybody. I think he has maybe a crush on Renee Young. I'm not really sure, but he popped up a few times, just not saying anything, playing with his mask. Kind of see that they're going in that direction I kind of hinted at a couple of weeks ago, with it basically being a scenario where maybe Erick Rowan is so infatuated with his mask that the mask takes a personality. In WWE's own sick, twisted way for their respective universe, I think eventually the way they're going to do Erick Rowan with the mask is they're going to set it up like the DC character Scarface. You know about the ventriloquist who has the little Scarface, little gangster puppet on his arm and all that. I could see a scenario like that where Erick Rowan is talking to the mask. We haven't seen something like that in quite a long time. So you can do a lot of cool, crazy, wacky things if you decide you want to go that route. But I love what they're doing with that. Anybody know the name of that girl yet? I've got like about a nice amount of people checking that stream out on YouTube here. Let me poke my head in Spreaker here. What is the name? There we go. Thanks, Freddie. Shout out to Freddie. Deja Fuentes. That is the girl's name who was doing the social media lounge with Sami Zayn. You guys have got to look her up. I don't know who the hell has been doing the hiring, but like you look at Renee Young, you look at that other Hispanic girl. I hadn't seen her in a minute now that I think about it, but you look at her, and then you look at Desha Fuentes. I mean, whoever's been doing the hiring for these female WWE anchor reporters, I mean, keep it coming, man. I mean, I don't know if they just be kicking back looking at a bunch of photo spreads or what, but the streak, it is awesome. I love all I gotta say, quote that Van Halen song. Oh yeah, beautiful girls. Oh yeah, that's all I gotta say. So that was nice. Pre-show match, it was Aidin English taking on Ty Dillinger. Yeah, Charlie Caruso. That's the other one. I mean, my God, man, it's like if I had to pick Charlie Caruso, Renee Young, or Desha Fuentes, it's a damn toss up, man. I mean, I'm kind of leaning more towards Fuentes. For me, Renee is at the bottom. I don't know why. Maybe for me, I think Renee is at the bottom of the list because now she's married and all that. And so, in my nice little fantasy world, like even if it's a fantasy world and it's only for one night, it's like, nah, you married, so no, it's not happening. No, sorry. You're dating, that's one thing, but no, you're married. So for me, Renee's kind of eliminated. So Charlie or Fuentes, I gotta go with Fuentes. There's something about her that just Charlie looks a little too, what's the right word I want to use? She looks a little bit too plasticky. She looks a little bit enhanced. Whereas Fuentes looks very organic. Everything is just natural. I think that might be a Twitter poll. I know some of you guys, now that I've put these names out there, y'all going to be doing your own kind of polling tonight. But we saw Aidin English in a losing effort to Ty Dillinger. Great warm-up pre-show match to get the crowd into it. Closing moments of that respective matchup. Dillinger had mounted English in the corner, unloaded as fans were counting for 10. Dillinger dropped the knee pad, but English rolls to the floor, had managed to escape that way. English ends up suckering Ty in, dropping him over the top rope. English would then go to the top, but Ty brings him to the mat. Dillinger goes for a backdrop. He actually ended up missing that one from a top rope splash. After that, English had dropped Ty on his face. That only had got him a 2 count. From there, English got a little bit frustrated. Actually started throwing a hissy fit in the middle of the ring like he did a few weeks ago, and Jericho had ended up talking to him. English began talking a little bit of trash, tried to scoop up Dillinger for a slam. English goes back to the top, misses on his way down. That would set up Dillinger taking advantage as English would charge at him. Ty connected with the tiebreaker to pick up the victory that way. So pretty good matchup that we had right there. I see you guys are now like, what about Jojo? What about Jojo? Jojo is hot as well, but you know what? For me, I don't know what it is, but like once I find out somebody's married, it's like, okay, I can't really, to each its own. But for me, I go, all right, that's buzzkill, Now, if you were to say to me differently, Lee, married or not, it's just no strings attached. You're single, they're single, and they're like, hey, want to do it? Well, if we're going to go there, let's go there. So collectively, we've got Desha Fuentes, we got Renee Young, we got Charlie Caruso, and we got Jojo. Well, being the type of man that I am, and let me just put it this way, the first impression for me is all about that behind. So Jojo would win, hands down. Jojo would win, hands down. Second place, I've got to go with Fuentes. Third place, I would have to go with, I've got to go with Renee Young. I would have to go with Renee Young. I will put Charlie at the bottom. Yes, she's cute. Make no mistake about it. She is hot. But for me, she just looks a little bit too enhanced. Now, if it turns out everything is organic, more power to her. But for me, she just looks a little bit plasticky, like she's gotten some type of work done. But yes, Razor, I'm an ass man. I love to pluck them. I love to kick them. I love to lick them. I love to stick 'em. I know that's not part of the song. I know. The best thing about him is to stick him from behind. I'm an ass man. Oh, I'm an ass man. Yeah, I know. I'm like singing this at like 11:30 in the morning. I'm sure my neighbors are like, "What the fudge is this dude doing?" But anyway, let's move it along, man. All right, so some other action that we had on the show. Let's see. Let's talk about the actual card itself. I was actually quite surprised that this match began the pay-per-view card. It was Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Dolph Ziggler. I know, right? That actually had kicked off the pay-per-view. I was fine for it. I'm going, okay, we're in Chicago. You got to kick things off on a hot note. I was not looking for this match to actually happen until like maybe the second hour of the show. And honestly, I thought what was probably going to kick off the match was maybe the tag titles. So the first 45 minutes I thought was kind of interesting because the first 45 minutes was occupied by two matches. And depending on who you talk to, there were some elements that were quite entertaining, but there were a lot of moments for these two matchups that had some people go, okay, this is kind of like the drizzles right now. What the hell? But the Dolph Ziggler Shinsuke Nakamura match, I loved it. Now that storyline wise, you had Dolph Ziggler saying, oh, it takes Shinsuke about 5 to 10 minutes just to come out before like something actually happens. I'm having that in the back of my mind now that I've got Shinsuke coming out and he's doing his trademark entrance. I'm still getting behind it, but I'm also kind of looking at the clock going, all right, let's get to this match already. Loved it. Great technical matchup. I thoroughly had enjoyed it. Let's tell you about some of the closing moments of this matchup. Look, did Shinsuke live up to the hype? Honestly, I thought Shinsuke, this is my answer, and I'm answering it very truthfully. He lived up to the hype from the standpoint of I watched him down at NXT. I knew what he was doing before the WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling and other promotions. So for me, I already knew what to expect. Did he deliver? Yeah, he delivered. I personally felt he held his own against Dolph Ziggler. I thought what they had gave us tonight was, I won't say an instant classic, but it was definitely a memorable matchup. It's a matchup that we'll probably be talking about in a couple of more months, I would personally say. Is it a match of the year caliber type of match? No, because I've seen Shinsuke do better. But I think, honestly, if they can continue to keep the two guys separated, what's probably going to be the WrestleMania matchup, Shinsuke Nakamura taking on AJ Styles. That is honestly what I want to see at next year's WrestleMania, and it can now happen. But let's pick it up. Closing moments of that matchup. We pretty much saw a series of counters between Ziggler, Nakamura. Nakamura had connected with a knee to drop Ziggler, then a kick to the back of Ziggler's neck. Ziggler countered back, coming in with a exploder suplex and super kicks Nakamura in the back of the neck. We saw Ziggler try to crawl over and only managed to get a 2 count cover. A lot more back and forth action. Eventually, we saw Nakamura. He dropped Ziggler with a knee to the face. From there, Nakamura went up for the Kinshasa. But Ziggler, clever little guy, actually able to move out of the way in time. Ziggler would try to connect with a super kick. He failed in that attempt. Nakamura, he finally had connected with an inverted exploder. Fans popped big time for that one as Nakamura from there proceeded to finish off Ziggler. He finished him off by connecting with the Kinshasa for the victories. So Shinsuke Nakamura picking up the W. Impressive win. I think this was honestly a no-brainer that Nakamura needed this, all the hype that he was doing. And look, I want to just kind of rewind it back a second. I said earlier on the show this week, just from an entertainment value standpoint, you can make it serious, but you could also kind of make it a little bit funny as well. I had suggested the idea of maybe just as an experiment to see how it would gauge fans, if they would be fine with maybe for one segment, a backstage segment, Nakamura, he's seen being interviewed by who knows, Renee, somebody. And as he's talking, it's not his voice, as you get an English dub that comes over, and it's basically a guy that sounds kind of like low key that would be doing the English talking for Shinsuke Nakamura. And I know that there are so many people that are very, very like high. They have high regard for Shinsuke Nakamura. And I can't tell you how many people went out of their way to send me like private emails. I also had got private messages on YouTube, and people were like, dude, what the hell are you smoking? That is like the most stupidest, silliest idea I ever heard. No, man, don't do that. That would just mess him up. I didn't say you permanently needed to do something like that. All I said was do one segment, play it off, see how it gels with the crowd. If the reaction is overwhelmingly positive, then maybe you could do a little bit more of some stuff like that. Do I agree with the majority of fans that are honestly saying let him be kind of like a silent, deadly assassin? Yes. Need I also remind you, I am the same guy that said on this very show, and let me make sure that the record is stayed perfectly clear. If we need to make what I'm saying right now be just a standalone, we can do that. Before the record, when it comes to the talk of Shinsuke Nakamura, I personally would love to see the WWE take elements of what he was doing over in New Japan and implement it for the WWE fan base. When he would do his promos, it was stuff that was just amazing, quite honestly. And when you have the option of English closed captioning, definitely comes in handy when you're watching his stuff on New Japan Pro Wrestling TV on Access TV. I think that would be awesome. You could just have him do like these great classic promos, and honestly, just let it air. For those of us that's watching at home, I think you need to give somewhat of a different experience to those that's going to be watching the WWE events live in person, depending on the length of those promos. Because if you're going to do like a 10-minute video package, you're really testing the fans' patience, and I don't really think that's fair to them. But if you were to maybe do like a 4-minute piece, then I say, yeah, you can get away with showing it to those at home, and you can get away to showing it to those that's watching in attendance live. But anything past 4 minutes for that live crowd, you just need to scrap that and show something else completely different. Maybe actually you kind of show that as a warm-up for a dark match or something like that, just to kind of get the crowd ready for SmackDown, Raw, or the pay-per-view, whatever, right? But I hope that in the near future they kind of go that route, because there is that part of Shinsuke Nakamura that's very mystique. There is that part of him that like don't really know that much about this guy. He's a little bit curious. And I think they need to play up to that. They need to build upon that. They definitely got something really special going on with him. That would be interesting. I see a comment. Maybe someone bring back Mr. Fuji from the other side for Nakamura. That would be interesting. I also see maybe Shinsuke needs to be a Paul Heyman guy. That would be kind of interesting as well. I kind of see what you guys are saying. You guys are kind of like, maybe if you put like a really, well, Mr. Fuji definitely delivered some pretty memorable moments. But a guy like Paul Heyman, interesting. I'll marinate more on that, and I'll come back to that on Tuesday night. Oh, I mispronounced it. I mispronounced the finisher. It's called Kinshasa. How about I just say he kicked the living crap out of that dude? How about I just say that? By the way, for you guys that love playing WWE Champions, I see Shinsuke is available right now for a limited time in the Vault. Try to see if you can open him up. 3-star. My God, his black a gem power move alone, if you're able to match him up, does like 2,000 and something damage points. I mean, my God, that is, if you can get him, more power to you, man. I was eyeballing that the other day, and I was like, damn, be kind of nice to get him on my roster. Right now, for those of you that might be a little bit curious, my top two guys that I've been spending the most time leveling up, John Cena. I've got him at what? I think I've got him at like 2,196. So his hit points is like, his hit points is like, I think it's 3,400. And then I've got Cesaro. I actually had managed to grab a 3-star Cesaro from the loot the other day, or several days ago, and I've been leveling the hell out of him. He's my go-to guy right now. He's almost at 3,000, and his HP is at about, I think his HP is at about 31. Yeah, I think it's about 31,000. So those are my two guys that I keep going with the most. Talk about some more in-ring action here. How are we doing on Showtime? I think we're doing pretty good so far, yeah? Let me look at the Showtime counter here. Oh, we're doing pretty good. I ain't tripping. All right, good. YouTube, I ain't forget you guys, man. I'll definitely show you guys a little bit of love too, man. What match would you love to see? Owens versus Mahal or Owens versus Nakamura? Owens versus Mahal or Owens versus Nakamura? Hands down, I want to see Owens versus Nakamura. Hands down. I'm not going to even, I don't even need to elaborate more on that, but this much I will say. Kevin Owens, up until tonight, I honestly would have to say, up until tonight, great transition into the next match, by the way. But I would have to say, usually when you see Kevin Owens in these pay-per-view matches, he tends to deliver 4-star quality matches guaranteed. But there are times where he will deliver many times a 5-star match. And there was a period of time where I was tracking all the matches since Kevin Owens had made his debut, and he had one hell of a streak going on as far as the caliber of matches. I mean, it was just insane to see a guy in his first year have that many 4-star caliber matches, but then on the flip side to that, had a really good, strong number of 5-star matches. So for me, Nakamura, Owens, I think if you do it right, there's SummerSlam right there. I would love to see a great SummerSlam match. Owens, Nakamura, United States title. That's how I would book it, quite honestly. Talk about the next matchup that came about from Backlash tonight. We saw the Usos. They defeated Breezango. I am starting to like appreciate these guys, and to think I like Pink Slip. Give them both a pink slip. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they have been talking very candidly with Edge and Christian, but there have been so many elements that we've been seeing the past several weeks where they just reek of awesomeness, right? Because they've been borrowing little stuff from Edge and Christian's heyday and applying it, doing their own unique spin to it. And they've been quirky, crazy, and quirky, funny. And I like, there's that part of me, I like a really bad, quirky joke. Like, even if I don't bust out a gut laughing hysterically and I'm crying, just the fact that I go, my God, that was really cheesy. That was corny as hell. It was kind of funny, you know. It was quirky. I like that. I like when stuff is quirky. So for me, these guys have been rubbing on me the past couple of weeks. It really seems as though they're now fully giving themselves into this next evolution in their partnership, because early on, it just kind of seemed like two guys were just mashed together. You both are glam boys, work with it. And, you know, since then, it's been kind of like, damn, they're still with the company. Why are they still there? Like, what the hell? And I tell you, probably the best thing that ever happened to both of them for both of their careers, respectfully, was going to SmackDown, because on SmackDown, it really is truly starting to become the land of opportunity. To kind of quote what AJ Styles had said on Talking Smack a couple of weeks ago, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, We build them up, Raw takes them away. We make them, Raw takes them. I believe that was what he said, the latter. We make them, Raw takes them. And I love what's going on with Breezango right now. I love that funny little skit where we see Fandango. He's dressed up as a janitor. I thought he was dressed up as Hulk Hogan in a janitor outfit. Honestly, I'm not really sure if maybe that's what they were trying to do, but whatever, man. That was hilarious seeing Ty Dillinger in the match. He's got the mop and he is just doing his thing in the ring, just mopping it. That was hilarious. Crowd popping. There were actually chants for the mop. Believe it or not, there were actually chants for the mop. In all my years, I never thought I would hear a damn chant for a mop. I mean, that was just hilarious. A lot of Kenny Omega references too, as you would imagine, because everybody's like, hey, look, Tyler Breeze, he's the cleaner. Well, who's cleaning better? Is it Breeze or is it Kenny Omega? So there was a lot of comparisons from that standpoint. But it was actually a good tag match, probably short, probably really short. It was definitely about a under 10-minute match, I would have to say. Let's see if we can pick it up towards the closing moments of this matchup here. Just looking at my notes. We saw Uso. He had blocked a shot from Fandango. Fandango would then counter right back, kicked him in the head. That only got him a 2 count. Jay had missed a splash in the corner. Fandango had connected with a DDT. That only had got him a near fall. Breeze then tags in. They try to do a double team on Uso, but he counters, managed to fight off their attack, their double team effort attack. Jimmy tags in. They hit a big double team move on Breeze. Breeze still managed to kick out. A little bit more back and forth was coming about. Breeze got a very close 2 count on Jay with the unprettier. So again, kind of going back to what I was saying before, shades of Edge and Christian. Usos ended up sending Breeze over the barrier into the crowd section after he leaps off the apron onto them. Fandango then comes from off the apron, tries to take out both Usos. Fandango tries to bring it back into the ring, goes up to the top rope looking for a high-risk maneuver, but Jay actually pushes him off. Jimmy kicks him. That pretty much had set up the pin and the W. So Usos picking up the win. But I tell you what, looks like Breezango, they're starting to build it on, man. I love their silly little comedy routine stick. I love it. And did anybody notice from the backstage segment that they did when they were talking about the Usos and they were trying to understand the new slogan on their shirt, one day-ish or whatever? Did anybody notice some of the mugshots that were behind them? You had the infamous mugshot of Vince McMahon when he got arrested. I think it was from the period where I'm almost tempted to say it was the period where Vince McMahon got arrested by Roman Reigns. If not Roman Reigns, maybe CM Punk. Kind of came off like one of those two, because the picture looked pretty like it was old man Vince from what I remember. So it's actually a pretty good matchup. Future is actually starting to look bright for Breezango, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually coming around to these guys. I've always been a sucker for quirky stuff, and I love that. You know, I guess there's that part of me that has a inquisitive mind. I'm always reading up on something. I like just the funniest, peculiar things. So to see them take this direction that they're doing with their Law and Order inspired little comedy skits, I like it. I really do like it. And I tell you what, if it's a case where Edge and Christian are actually giving these guys advice, hey, keep it coming, Edge and Christian. That's all I gotta say. Keep it coming, man. Oh yeah, that spot. Yeah, that was a hilarious spot. I almost forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me, Freddie. Yeah, there was a spot where, so on top of Tyler Breeze being a janitor, he disappeared at one point when he was getting his tail handed to him, and then he came back dressed up as an old lady. He looked like the old lady from Mama's Family, believe it or not. That was just hilarious. But there was a spot like where a t-shirt had got thrown to the crowd, and it like landed on JB's face. I'm pretty sure it was the Usos. Like when they were getting ready to do the match, one of the Usos had took off their shirt and they threw it, or maybe it was a situation where they took off Tyler's shirt. I want to say they took off Tyler's shirt because now that I kind of play it back in my head, the Usos came out wearing their black and white one day shirts. So I'm pretty sure the shirt they took off was actually off of Breeze, and they threw it, and it conveniently, I mean, you couldn't time it perfectly, and this was definitely unscripted, but they threw it and it perfectly landed on JBL. And JBL just so freaking witted. I loved it. It was probably my favorite commentating spot of the night. It was the dress. Yeah, that's right. Mama's family dress. Yeah, they ripped off Tyler Breeze's Mama's family dress. Yeah, yes, I got you guys now. I'm with you all now. Yeah, Mama's family dress. Took the Mama family's dress off of Tyler Breeze, and you couldn't just. This was written so perfectly, not right. So they throw it, and it conveniently lands on the face of JBL, and JBL so freaking witty. He goes, man, I haven't had anything like this thrown at me in a good minute. Last time that happened, I had to pay for it. So you're automatically going, oh, JBL did that at a stripper club or whatever. Okay, JBL. You hear Tom Phillips, TMI. I just wish, the only thing missing from that, I wish JBL would have came right back and been like, oh, kind of like your personal life. I mean, you're one to talk. Who you been sexting lately, or who you been on the phone with as of late, Tom? I really wish JBL would have went there, because I mean, Tom left himself wide open when he was talking about TMI. But JBL, I mean, that was priceless. That was an awesome spot. That had me chuckling the whole freaking time. This was your comic relief match, quite honestly. And I know some people probably didn't really like it. It was probably a little bit too heavy on the slapstick comedy for them. But at the end of the day, it's all about entertainment. And it was actually, for what it was worth, it was actually a good tag match. And it ended in such a way where these guys are going to continue to face them in the weeks to come. So I loved it. I was all fine for it. Sami Zayn was taking on Baron Corbin. That match had got a lot of time. Yeah, so let me see if I got this straight. So Sami Zayn, he was on Raw. He was doing his thing. You know, you kind of had the whole David Goliath thing happening with Braun Strowman. And then it was kind of like a David Goliath thing going on with Samoa Joe to an extent. Just to an extent. I'm talking about as far as on the main roster goes, not down NXT, but on the main roster. Actually, you can kind of make the argument in NXT as well, when he was locking up with Joe and all that, Owens, whatever. But I thought this was kind of interesting from the standpoint, you know, it was a decent match. I'll definitely admit that. It was a decent match. But there's something about this match that just rubbed me the wrong way. I can't quite put my finger on it right now. I guess I'm a little bit pleasantly shocked. I'm trying to find the right words. I think I have the words now. I think I was pleasantly shocked at the fact that Sami Zayn defeated Baron Corbin. Because here's this guy. Oh, he had won the Andre the Giant trophy. Oh, he's doing this. And we got JBL in the gang every single week. My God, that's going to be a bona fide star. That's a future WWE champion right there, guys. You just watch my cool, watch out. That's a future champion, my cool, watch out now. I'm telling you, Tom Phillips, that's going to be a champion one day. You just watch, and it's like every single week, it's just, by God, Morrow, by God. It's like, okay, all right. Like, we get it. We should be watching this guy. Okay, already, we get it. And it was just interesting that, like, when I was starting to finally come around on Baron, all of a sudden, whatever momentum he was building, it's gone as Sami Zayn defeated him. Let's kind of take it back a little bit. We'll tell you how this all had pretty much came about in the closing moments of the matchup here. By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. If you are, make sure you click on those hearts, those likes, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do subscribe so you never miss out. Remember, you can catch me weekly Tuesday nights after SmackDown goes off the air. I am live on Spreaker.com. Let's talk about this matchup here. I'm just trying to pull up my notes here. Let's talk about the final moments of this matchup here. So we had saw Baron Corbin. He actually had went up to the top rope looking for a superplex, but Sami Zayn managed to ward that off. Sami then was able to successfully connect with a sunset flip power bomb, but that only had got him a 2 count. From there, crowd was actually into this matchup, by the way. Corbin had hit him as I think Sami ran into an elbow. Sami then tried to go for a big DDT out of the corner, but Corbin stops it with just sheer power. Sami then tries to catch Corbin in the exploder suplex, but Corbin outpowers him. Sami then would connect with a roll up. That only got him a 2 count. Corbin catches him with a deep 6. I thought that was lights out for sure. I thought at that point the match was over. No, Sami actually kicked out. From there, Corbin, pretty frustrated, stomps away on Sami Zayn. Corbin connected with a few forearms to the head, to the face, connected with a few more stomps. Referee was actually getting ready to call the match because he didn't like how far Corbin was taking it. Really was almost about to get himself disqualified when it was all said and done. Corbin tried to charge at Sami, but Sami ends up sending him through the ropes to the floor. Sami then looked as though he was getting ready to do a dive, but Corbin runs back into the ring. Sami boots him, follows it up with a hell of a kick. And that pretty much was it. It was a little kick or hell of a kick out of nowhere. Picked up the W that way. It was just one of those head scratching moments that just kind of left me going, like, I'm not really sure what to make of this because, like, I've been so disappointed over the years with Sami Zayn. It's like 1 minute you see him win these, like, critical matches when it counts the most, and you're thinking, well, maybe there's hope for this guy yet. Maybe there's some type of new faith or whatever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, okay. All right. So I'm not quite sure what to make of this just now. I'm happy that he won. Didn't see it coming, but it was odd, especially given the fact that it was a clean win over Corbin. That was the other thing that really just kind of boggled me because here you have this Corbin dude that has just been I won't say a juggernaut like a Braun Strowman, but he's been making his strides on SmackDown, and it really seemed as though with a lot of the matches that he was booked in, he was being protected. He was so being protected in a way where, like, hey, it needs to be like extremely rare. You see this guy get pinned cleanly in the middle of the ring because, I mean, this is our bread and butter. This guy's going to be like a future champion. And you just think about everything I just said earlier. Like, you guys can look back, all the matches that he's had, he's never had just a straight up clean defeat in the middle of the ring. So to see Sami Zayn get just a clean win over him, it just rubbed me the wrong way, especially from the standpoint this was like the first time that these two guys were locking up. And it's like, wait a minute, normally you don't do like a clean victory in the middle of the ring unless you're kind of like done with the feud, unless you're moving on. So I'm not really sure what to make of that one. Quite honestly, that was a head scratcher. Now, there are some reports floating around, at least by Dave Meltzer. Apparently, they're going to change up Corbin's gimmick and theme. Take that for what it's worth. But yeah, so other than that, let's go to the next matchup we got going on here. I'm just paying attention to some of the comments on the platforms here right now. How many more matches we got here? I'm just checking my notes here. Yeah, we don't have that many more matches to talk about. Welcoming committees: Natalya, Carmella, Tamina with James Ellsworth defeated Naomi, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. Naomi, how'd that match end? Natty had applied the sharpshooter on Becky Lynch, was it? I think it was on Becky Lynch. Made her submit. 6-woman tag team match. God, I like all these people, but I'm just not. It felt like a throwaway match. It felt like just a random placement. It felt like a bathroom break. I don't like saying that because, especially when you have a situation that involves Charlotte Flair, I don't like saying that. But I mean, I gotta call this match for what it was worth, man. You know, like I've always given praise to Natty. Uh, Natty's cool people in my book, man. She really is. She's awesome. But this match, it just felt so. I don't know if maybe it's because of this whole welcoming committee shtick. Like when I hear that, it's like, okay, so who are you welcoming? Why are you welcoming them? What do you hope to accomplish by welcoming them? And I can understand it from the standpoint of like when Charlotte had first came up to SmackDown. Okay, you're going to be the welcoming committee. Okay, you're going to try to break her in. Okay, I got you. I got you. And like after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's like, well, they're a little bit seasoned now. They've been there for kind of a month. There's no reason to welcome them now. They pretty much know how to do it. So first off, that name is just really throwing me the hell off. I wish we can go with like something else. If like maybe we can just call them the committee. I think the first thing that needs to be established is, what are the intentions of the committee? Why the committee? Why are they calling themselves the welcoming committee? What do they hope to accomplish on SmackDown? And I think Ellsworth kind of alluded to that fact during the pre-show. He said something along the lines of, it's his goal to see Carmella as the SmackDown Women's Champion. So hearing him say that, maybe that kind of gives you a little bit of a bird's eye view as far as what the true intent is for this committee stable, right? That's on the one hand, but it sure would be nice to see the other girls kind of come together and really explain why they're going with this name and exactly if they're down with that as well. If they are for seeing a scenario occur where Carmella becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion, like what, Natty is just going to willingly stand by and let Carmella do this? Tamina is just going to stand by and pretty much allow this to happen, right? Having a hard time really processing that, but this was pretty much your opportunity to go use the bathroom, man. There was a Luke Harper, Erick Rowan match. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I just want to get it out the way. Nobody gave a damn about this matchup, quite honestly. And look, I'm not being mean to you guys in any type of way, but I polled you guys on Twitter. I asked you guys, who did you think was going to win this match? And I gave you some options, and the results were really, really funny. Let me read you the polling results here. Here we go. Wait a minute. Here we go. So these were the final results. It was only open for like about 15 minutes. 61% of you said you did not care about the match. And 31% of you went on ahead and said Luke Harper is probably going to get the job done. At one point, it was staying at 0. So I guess maybe one person just felt bad for Erick Rowan and they decided they wanted to give him a chance. So we have 8% basically of folks that said Erick Rowan was going to win. But I mean, that's a telling tale right there when you have 61% of fans that don't care about this matchup, right? That's just, honestly, if you ask me straight up, like what should happen, there were a couple of golden opportunities that Luke Harper would have just been solid as a singles guy. But WWE dropped the ball. I mean, there were at least 5 occasions that I can recall that WWE could have like and done it well. The crowd, the reactions, everything was in Harper's favor, and like they didn't seize it. So then you have a scenario occur where like, okay, well, we got this guy here. We need like a singles guy. And by the way, they've got Luke Harper tank top shirts on WWEshop.com. I did a rant about it a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of you guys were pretty much chuckling, having a good hearty one on that one. But like, look, seriously, they dropped the ball with Luke Harper. They're trying with Erick Rowan, but sadly, I think Harper will be okay. it's Erick Rowan that really is not going to be okay. And I pray that whatever is going on with him in this DC inspired Scarface ventriloquist thing, I really hope it kind of goes in a direction where it gives him a little bit more longevity. Because quite honestly, he could be on the chopping block. And if it doesn't work out, then the only other option is to see him and Luke Harper be reunited. But I like how you have Erick Rowan basically say Luke Harper wanted to leave the family. He wanted to, well, wait a minute, man. Like, you guys do realize that all along, Randy Orton, it was his intention to break up the family and all that, right? So I don't know. Maybe you can squash the beef now that you know that Randy Orton was the one that pretty much orchestrated. He was manipulating you guys the whole time. I guess they don't follow Bray Wyatt and what he's been doing. So I guess like they don't really. What's the excuse? They're slow in intellect. Is that what we're? Because if we're gonna go that route, let's just be for real. Let's go that route then. But how can you be that oblivious to the real deal on why the Wyatt family stable truly broke up on SmackDown? Whatever, but I thought that was a telling tale that you guys had said. One other matchup that we can talk about here. We got one more match, don't we? Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, United States Championship match. It's actually a pretty good matchup. Pretty good matchup. A lot of story being told in this matchup. It was good, but you know what? When I think about Kevin Owens and all the matches, I gotta say, this was actually the first matchup where it didn't really feel, from a Kevin Owens performance standpoint, it didn't really feel like a 4-star matchup, but it ended up getting to a 4-star matchup because there was a couple of sweet spots in the match that made you go, man, I can't believe they actually did that. Like there was one spot where Kevin Owens back, I think AJ Styles did some type of suplex to Owens on the side apron, and Owens had went back first at the edge of the apron where the person would be standing over the ropes. So that was a nice, good spot that they did right there. That had people going, oh, you know, damn, this is awesome. So it was, yeah, would have had to actually seen it if you didn't see it in real time. But that was a really nice spot. Let's pick it up. Let's talk about some of the closing moments of this matchup. Then I'm just going to pretty much picking on back, check out you all's comments overall, read to you guys the latest polling results we have for Payback so far. I am looking for my match here. Where is it? Kevin Owens. Give me a second here, guys. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. All right. So final moments of this matchup. I guess we can kind of pick it up right around where the referee was checking up on AJ. We had saw Owens wrap AJ's leg around the bottom rope, and then he proceeded to connect with a cannonball. He did a cannonball on that leg. Owens then grabs the injured leg, tries to apply a single leg crab lock. Owens drags AJ back to the center of the ring, applies an ankle lock. Hold is broken eventually, but AJ, a lot of damage has been done. Owens smells it. He's trying to go for the kill. It takes AJ up to the top for a big move. AJ actually ends up turning that into a power bomb from the top. And both of them were pretty much laid out at that point. Crowd was eating that up. They were really enjoying the hell out of that spot in particular. From there, Styles tried to springboard himself into doing the phenomenal forearm, but he actually tripped up on the ropes. Remember, he's got the bad leg. From there, we had saw Owens drop AJ for a close 2 count. Owens is yelling at AJ Styles at this point, beats him up a little bit more. AJ fires right back. Nice, good Pele kick to Owens' face. AJ was on a little bit of a hot comeback and tried to go to the corner, but Owens counters, taking AJ to the mat with a big suplex. That only got a near fall. Owens climbs to the top. AJ managed to roll from under the ropes. AJ actually ended up countering and hitting with a suplex to the apron, to Owens to make him go through the apron. Owens falls to the floor in pain. That got a nice, good holy crap from the crowd. Owens would end up sending AJ over into the barrier by the timekeepers area. AJ comes flying off the barrier with a big forearm. Referee counts as AJ brings Owens on top of the announcer's table for a Styles clash he's looking for. Owens pulls AJ's legs out, causing him to fall. With that injured leg that Owens was working on earlier in the night, that ended up getting trapped by some wire cables at the announcer's table. AJ was pretty much at a bad spot because he was not able to get those cords off of him in time. He got counted out. So Kevin Owens, still your United States champion via count out. Referee tried to help Owens get untangled, and right when he got freed, Owens actually attacked AJ from behind, did a nice super kick to the back of Styles' head. Referee tried to get Owens off of him, and Owens did. After that cheap kick, he pretty much got back in the ring, picked up his title, celebrated. Owens pretty much leaving out that way, getting "you suck" chants, stupid idiot chants, a little homage to Chris Jericho. AJ would end up getting helped out by about 3 referee officials, taking him up to the gorilla position, and that pretty much was it. It was a good matchup, though. It's a good matchup. Actually loved how it ended. Looking forward to Act 2. Really kind of wondering what's going to be happening with this United States title, man. I mean, on one hand, I'm liking what's going on with this whole face of America and Kevin Owens, a little sarcastic or whatever, but yeah, so you got an Act 2 that's going to be happening for sure with those guys. Should be interesting to see how that all plays out on SmackDown. So if you got some questions you want to send my way right now, put it in parentheses and put capital LS. So put your question out there. Give me a question mark at the end of it, but make sure you put in parentheses capital LS so I know I need to be reading that bad boy. How would you rate WWE Backlash? I want you guys to take our poll and let your voice be heard, man. I want to hear from you guys. Twitter at the RCWR Show. I'm also on Facebook at the same name, the RCWR Show. And make sure you support me on Patreon. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and there was actually a comment I had saw on YouTube. And somebody was like, "Oh, man, you don't have enough Patreons." And it's like, hey, man, not everybody in these tough economic times is able to financially provide. And I'm not going to be doing like a lot of people. I'm not going to be, what's the word that's floating around nowadays? E-begging. I don't believe in that. What I will say is, hey, look, anybody that wants to contribute to the show, they're going to get access to bonus exclusive content. They're going to know about any special guest that's going to be dropping by the show before we even announce it. There's going to be exclusive shows that's going to include special guests. That's going to be for Patreon members only. I spent previous months not really hyping it like that, not really promoting it like that. I just basically had set it up at one point, and that pretty much was the end of it. But now, obviously, with some of the craziness that's going on with YouTube and all that other jazz, it's kind of like, that's not really, So, I mean, if you're able to give, that's great. If you're not able to give, honestly, just share the daggone link. And I don't mean to say daggone like it's, but no, you know what I mean. If you're able to give, great. If not, share the link. You want more information, go check out patreon.com/RCWR Show. Again, patreon.com/RCWR Show. And looking at some of these polling results that we got right now, ask you all, how would you rate WWE Backlash? Right now, we got 68% of the votes coming in that are giving it a thumbs up. 32% are giving it a thumbs down. You got 4 days left to cast your vote. Let your voice be heard. Cast your vote on there. Also, we got another poll that is going to be up for about 3 days at this point. The question is, what was your favorite match from the Backlash event? Right now, I am seeing 63% of the votes coming in for Kevin Owens, AJ Styles. Coming in at second place is Ziggler taking on Nakamura. That's at 31%. 6% Orton versus Mahal. So far, 0% for other. For that option, you actually have to tweet at me what was the match that wasn't mentioned on the list that you actually had enjoyed. So some interesting results right there. Let's see what else. Also, I'll mention this poll because we had got the final results for this one. I had asked you all who was going to win between Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton for the WWE title. And 29% of you called it. You said Mahal would win with help from the twins. And we have a tie. Some of you felt Orton was going to retain with just a straight up win. The rest of you, the other half, thought that Mahal was going to win via DQ, but as you all know, title cannot exchange hands on a DQ. So those two options were second place. 21% of you thought that maybe Orton was going to win via DQ. So pretty interesting results right there. See if we got any other polls that's floating around here. I think that's pretty much, those are the main ones right now. By the way, Becky Lynch, look, I understood she was kind of paying homage to, with her hairstyle tonight, understood she was kind of paying homage to what she was doing on the independents, but I tell you, man, it did not get her off the hook by social media, myself included. Like, I kind of knew what she was doing with the hairstyle. I got it, but for some weird reason, I just wanted to kick back and binge on Woody Woodpecker. And then I was also reminded of Rufio from Peter Pan. A lot of you guys had pointed that out before I could even tweet it. And it was just funny seeing memes that were just floating around. I'm like, damn, poor Becky Lynch. I was like, y'all are funny though, man. Crude, but funny at times, man. So let's see what else we got here. Yeah, let's get to you guys. Let's get to you guys' interactions here and see what is coming about. I'm going to go to Spreaker first. Look at some of you all's questions or comments y'all got coming in here. I see Razor saying we need a pissed off heel to do things aggressively out of the norm towards towards the heel. Corbin will smash. Interesting. See what else we got here. I think SmackDown Live gives their talent more leeway to be creative. I agree with you. I mean, you look at a concept like Talking Smack as well, really does seem to come off as if it is helping for the most part with a lot of the talents in their promo execution abilities, building upon their in-ring persona, things of that nature. It's almost kind of like they're working with a blank canvas when they're on the show, like Talking Smack, and trying to figure out what's working and then kind of like applying that when it comes to SmackDown Live. So I would agree with that. Let's see what else here. Looking at some more comments here, just skimming through here. Every match in this pay-per-view was about in-ring, old school, selling psychology. I would agree with that 100%. I would definitely agree with that 100%, except for that women's match. Yes, I have retired the hell out of Tender My Balls. And it's so funny, too, because, like, when I was originally saying it, we had, like, a bunch of people that were like, oh man, you're just being a copycat, man. You're not cool. You're jacking other people. I'm like, dude, I've been calling him Tender My Balls for a good minute now, man. Like, what the hell are you talking about? I retired it though. I retired it almost like 2 months ago. It was like, I like where this guy is going. I'm gonna retire it until he gives me a reason to bring it back, man. So yes, I'm not calling him that anymore. See what's going on via YouTube here. Looking at the comments here. Yeah, Phoenix, I would agree with that. Phoenix is saying he hates how they're making Naomi look right now as a champion. I would agree with that. Right down to the point, if you really stop and think about it, I honestly would have been fine with Naomi defending the SmackDown Women's title in a one-on-one match. How do you not address that? Like, I that's what I'm saying, man. I really did not give a damn about a 6-woman tag. I didn't give a damn about that. I cared more about, okay, you're telling me this is a SmackDown themed pay-per-view event. Well, every single title should be defended. So for me to not see Naomi defend the title at Backlash, maybe honestly I would have given, because I know how much of a hard worker she is. I know how hard she does her best to put on an entertaining matchup. For the most part, average matches, but at least I can say she's going out there and she's literally freaking trying. Maybe that would have sufficed more than seeing what we had got tonight, because it just really felt like, I don't really know what to do with all these people. What do you do? Put them in a tag match. Just felt very weak, man. Let's see here. I see one vote. Jinder, glad that he's champion. I see one vote. And if you've been watching since 2011, Mark, even more the reason why, if you haven't done so already, you should be leaving the reviews, the ratings. Trust me, don't get it twisted. I love hearing from people that it turns out they've been checking the show out for a long time. One of the first questions I have to ask is like, well, where the hell have you been? If you've been checking it out that long, why aren't you following on social media? Why haven't you left reviews and ratings yet? How come you're not supporting the show on Patreon just yet? So I kind of a little bit skeptical when I hear those things, but I'm not saying anybody that says that is a liar, but I'm always kind of taken back when I read stuff like that, because it's kind of like, So as I always tell anybody, if you've been listening like that long, you should definitely because I'm not saying it to kill airtime. You should be following the show on social media, Twitter, Facebook, the RCWR Show. Support the show on patreon.com/RCWR Show. Subscribe to all the platforms and all that so you never miss out. See what else we got here. Reading some more comments here. What a rush. I don't see any more. Could I see a face turn by the Usos? Me personally, no. That's the short answer. I like what they're doing right now as heels. This is actually the best thing that's happened to them. It's added a new layer. I think, honestly, you first need to understand what has led the Usos to becoming heels in the first place. They spent all those years being baby faces, almost kind of to the point of being shoved down fans' throats, and they started actually turning on the Usos. So I think you really need to understand why they ended up becoming heels in the first place. I think, quite honestly, the only way they can go back to being faces is if there's honestly a really good campaign set up in a way where, and it brings up a good point. I actually have to do some research and I'll have the information ready by this Tuesday night, which is what's going on as far as merchandise pushers and all that. Like, are Usos still on that list? So I'm actually have to check that out. But no, I actually like what they're doing right now as heels, quite honestly. Interesting question here. Could it be that white peeps can't write for a black woman? Even Vince Russo admits to not being able to write for black dudes. Very, very, very interesting. I'll tell you what. Let's end it on that note. We can actually kick off the show this coming Tuesday by dissecting that question a little bit more, because I have reserved a few questions that have escaped me the past couple of weeks that I said I would address on a future episode. So we'll actually dedicate the first 30 minutes of the RCWR show to some listener questions. And then we got an awesome guest that's actually going to be dropping by the show this Tuesday night. I'll be coming on at 10 p.m. Eastern, right after SmackDown goes off the air. But at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we've got talented artist, works for WWE, does a lot of cool stuff. He's actually going to be at Awesome Con next month, as I will be there as well. I will be covering the event as part of the press media. So I have a feeling we'll probably lock up again or link up again at the Awesome Con event, and maybe if we have time allowed, we'll be able to do like an on the spot face to face interview that you guys will be able to see. But we are going to be talking to the one and only Rob Schramberger. Very, very talented artist, man. I think this guy is right up there with Alex Ross, if not better than Alex Ross, in my respected opinion, matter of taste or whatever, but a phenomenal artist. So we're going to be talking with him this Tuesday night. We're going to be talking about, of course, all things WWE. If you are into drawing, paintings, you just love artwork and all that, especially like what he does, knowing my artistic background, it's going to be a really awesome, fun conversation. We're also going to be previewing Awesome Con coming up in June. So that's going to be pretty awesome. So make sure you tune in for that one. And that is going to do it. So for those of you that's going to be waiting for this show on the downloads, give me about 20 minutes. It'll be ready to go. But for those of you that honestly are checking it out on YouTube, I appreciate you guys that's going to be checking this out on demand. And shout out to everybody that had chipped in tonight to interact. See, shout out to Razor. Shout out to Freddie. Shout out to Joe. Who else am I missing in there? I think I covered everybody there. And then shout out to everybody on YouTube, man. YouTube showed a lot of love. Give me those likes, all that good stuff, man. All right, so that's going to do it. I will see you guys in just a little bit. Wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. Everybody do take care. A very good night. Good morning.